headed out to Michigan with rumors of some of the craziest action in the Midwest. I make the 4-hour drive from Chicago to Mount Pleasant, Michigan, home of Soaring Eagle Casino. Shout out to Justin, a longtime subscriber of the vlog, who got us 2 tables of 2-5 no limit hold'em going for us to hop in between. You're gonna want to stay tuned though, because at the end of the night we get in a 4-way all-in for an almost $2,000 pot, and you won't believe what happens on the river. Alright, we put 30 $100 bills on the table. That's a $3,000 buy-in, and immediately get to work here with King Jack of Spades. There's a raise to 20, a call. I decide to 3-bet it up to $85. The action folds back around to the initial raiser, who puts in the call, and the player in between calls as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop here, which comes pretty good for my range on an ace-8 deuce with 2 diamond board. Obviously, I have some backdoor straight and flush ideas, but I could also represent hands like aces, ace king, ace queen. So into the $260 pot comes a bet of $125. Let's see if we pick up any customers. The first player folds, but Ploof, a legend in the Detroit area, puts in the call. You'll see a lot of him throughout the rest of this vlog. He calls on the flop, and off to the turn we go, which gives us a gutter to Broadway. It comes a 10 of clubs. With $512 in the middle, Ploof checks it over to me now for a second time. I have a decision point. Do I check behind, or do I put pressure on his 1-pair type of hands like kings, queens, 8-9 suited, maybe a weak ace? We can start to barrel off here and get to fold by the river. So into the $500 pot comes a large bet. I go $420, putting him in a tough spot. He doesn't think about it for too long though before putting in the call, so he could have some flush draws, maybe a set of deuces or 8s, ace 8, pocket 9s, pocket 10s, something like that. When he puts in the call, the river now comes the 10 of diamonds, so all of those flush draws now complete. There's $1,300 in the middle, and Ploof checks it over to myself. What are you guys doing in this spot? Checking behind, or are you following through with a hefty bet here on the river? I think when he calls me on the flop and turn, the 10 of diamonds is not great. He's not going to be folding pretty much any of his aces. Any 10x is definitely not folding, and pocket 8s has a boat. Additionally, the diamond draw got there, so I decided to check behind, and he shows me a hand that I definitely could have gotten to fold. 8-5 offsuit. So Ploof came to play 8-5 offsuit, ended up with 2 pair. We got a $10 straddle on in this next hand, and Justin comes in for a limp. I Cinco de Mayo it all the way up to $55. The straddler puts in the call, and Justin does as well. Off to the flop 3 ways, which comes ace-3 deuce with 2 clubs. When the action checks over to me, I decide to start with a check in between 2 opponents. It's usually a good idea to do so. Randy now on the button fires out for $120, and of course I flop top pair. I checked on the flop to get him to bet. Can't be folding here. I put in the easy call. Off to the turn we go with $400 in it, and it comes the king of diamonds. I check once again, and Randy rips it in for $300 this time. After I get an exact count, I pretty much can't be folding, although it doesn't feel great. He's ripping it in here. He probably has an ace-10, ace-3, ace-deuce type of hand. Maybe he has a club draw or diamond draw. I didn't drive 4 hours to fold top pair.
Is what you said, your friend said about you true, or you only play good hands?
I only play good hands.
Yeah, that's what he said. I have a good hand, but if you only play good hands, I have a bad hand.
I only play good hands.
Now I feel like you have a flush draw.
Off to a river we go, and it pairs the board. It comes the king of spades, and Randy turns over ace-3 of spades, so he had me absolutely cooked until the river paired the board. We have aces and kings with a 7 kicker. I'm explaining that for some of the new players watching my vlog. He has aces and kings with a 3 kicker. I know it's weird because technically he has 3 pairs, but you can only play 5 cards. So old Wolfgang here pulls a trick, a rabbit out of the hat here, and taking down on a $1,000 pot after I thought I only had 3 outs, all of my 7s, but turns out I had a bunch more outs than that. I actually had 7 outs. Any 7 or any king would scoop me the pot, and just like that, we're 1 for 2 on the night, dragging in a nice 4-figure pot. All right, the game is match the stack. It's getting pretty big here. I top on for an additional $2,000. So yes, I'm in for $5,000 in the middle of the center of Michigan here. All right, this is the definition of fun poker here. We have a few limps, a raise up to 80 over my $10 straddle. I decided to put in the call with 6-7 of spades, and we're gonna go multi-way to a flop. With 320 in the middle, the flop comes king, 7, deuce with 1 spade. I have middle pair, I have a backdoor spade draw. Life is pretty good. An opponent fires out for $50 and 2 players fold. Actions on me, of course, I have to put in the call. Off to the turn we go, which comes the 7 of hearts. Bang, we turn 3 of a kind. Jason does not slow down. Instead, he continues to bet for $75. A little bit worrisome though, because he decided to bet a small sizing. I wish he would have gone a little bit larger, so I think I have to target this with a raise. If we want to get more money in the middle, I gotta start piling it in now. There's that heart draw out there. I don't want him to get scared in case he has a hand like king, queen, ace, king. Another heart comes on the river and now he shuts down. So I raise him up to 250 right here, right now, and Jason waves the white flag, immediately folding his hand. I turn over the 6-7 of spades to let him know I wasn't up to any mischief there. I just had a great hand, Jason, and $745 is my bounty. Speaking of good hands, I'm on the button now with ace, king offsuit, and the cutoff ploof raises it up to $30. Gotta come in for a 3-bet. I go large here. You probably don't need to go larger than $90 to $100 in any of your normal games, but this is player dependent. I know ploof pretty well, and I know he's willing to call 90 bucks just as much as he's willing to call 125. So with my good hands here, can get a little bit exploitative and go a little bit larger. That's what I decided to do, and sure enough, he doesn't fold, puts in the call. We flop ourselves about as good as we can get on an ace-8 deuce rainbow board. 250 in the middle, and ploof checks it over to me. I go for a $100 bet. You guys might also be thinking that's a little bit large, and you would be right. Usually I'd probably go $75 to $90 here, so I'm sizing up once again, trying to target a call-happy opponent who doesn't like to fold. Well, sure enough, he puts in the call, and the turn now gives me 2 pair. It comes the king of clubs. Ploof checks over to myself once again. I wish the board was a little bit more connected in the sense that there was a flush draw or a straight draw out there, because I want to target a lot of those hands and go for the maximum. I know ploof isn't going to fold any of those draws, so at best here he has a hand like ace-8 or ace-deuce. So I decided to go large here for $525. Hopefully he calls me down, but he flashes over 3-4 of spades, so keep in mind he called that large 3-bet with 3-4 of spades and also called my $100 bet on the flop. $982 pushed back over my way. Now in this next hand, there's a $25 straddle put out by who other than ploof. I make it $75 to go with king jack offsuit. We get 2 calls, then flop ourselves top pair on a jack 9-4 rainbow board. With $230 in the middle, action checks to me. I go for around half the size of the pot. $125 is the price of poker, and just like that, we are going to pick up 1 customer followed by a second. So still 3 ways to the turn, which comes the 10 of hearts. Kind of a spicy card. It connects a lot of things. Queen king has a straight, jack 9, jack 10 have me beat. Of course, we're losing to all the sets as well. I don't think this is a terrible spot to go for a check behind if the action does check over to myself, but a player by the name of Two Hearted in the big blind now leads out into me for $500. Actually, he leads out into both opponents, but when ploof folds, the action's on me. I don't think this is a tough spot. You can't get married to top pair. Sure, it's a good hand, but when the opponent is telling you otherwise, you gotta let it go and save some money. He bet $500 into 2 opponents. Why didn't he just check it over to myself? Great bet by him. I muck my cards showing the jack, and he turns over pocket aces. So definitely a tricky way to play it, just calling pre-flop and then calling flop, leading out on the turn. All right, this next hand, there's a straddle to 15, a raise to 40. Ploof puts in the call. I look down at Ethan's favorite hand, pocket 4s, and decide to call as well. We're gonna pick up a few other customers, going extremely multi-way to a flop, which comes ace queen 3 with 2 hearts. Surprisingly, the action checks over to me, and I don't see any point in putting more money in the middle. Maybe we can back into a straight or a set. I think if I bet here, I'm gonna get check raised a lot by some flush draws and 2 pairs. Top pair is definitely not folding as well, so no point in betting here. We turn ourselves a gutter to the wheel. The deuce of diamond peels off. There's $200 in the middle, and ploof doesn't let it get checked to me for a second time. He fires out for $50. At this point, I think we could just fold. We have a bunch of players behind us that easily could go for a check raise with a hand like king 10 of hearts, king jack of hearts, something like that. But instead, I want to give some action here to an action player. player, so I decided to put in the call. Of course, I have evil intentions. I definitely want to spike a 4 or a 5 on the river. That's not a heart. I put in the call, and one other player does as well. Going 3 ways to the river now, and does it come the 5 or the 4? Absolutely not. It comes the Jack of Diamonds. So with $350 in the middle to fight for, Ploof gives up and checks it over to me. Sure, I have some showdown value here, but I definitely don't think I'm good after betting and calling an extremely multi-way. So I decided to check behind.
Oh wait, I got that beat. You beat that?
I can beat that barely. I can beat that! Ship it! Ship it! Let's go! Let's go!
Ship it over to me. Pocket 4s are somehow good. Look at these trash hands here. Come out to Michigan if you want to play some fun poker. We are taking in a $352 pot with 4th pair. All right, the straddle is on to $10. There's a blind raise to 75. Yes, we're playing 2, 5, 10, and Ploof blind raises 75. Of course, I have to 3-bet. Probably could go pretty large here, but I decided because he's blind, just go for the standard $225 raise. Ploof decides to call. Off to a flop we go, which comes unfair for us. Ace, King, Deuce, Rainbow, and he checks it over to myself. There's 467 in the middle. I go for a $90 bet, and he finally looks at his cards. Jack 8 offsuit and folds. A little bit of overkill there. I turn over the Queen of Diamonds, maybe alluding to the fact that I didn't have top pair, but I got hit with the deck here. I made top pair and $557, pretty much coming our way for free. All right, real quickly, you guys, I wanted to give a shout out to WSOP for bringing me out to the Bahamas for my 2nd annual WSOP Paradise. It's from December 6th to December 19th. Catch me out there playing in a bunch of events like the WSOP mini main event for $2,500, which has a $5 million guarantee, and I'm going to take a massive shot this year and play in the $25,000 buy-in WSOP Super Main Event. It's a $50 million guarantee prize pool, and hopefully I can make a deep run in that. It'll be an amazing vlog. If you guys are interested in having a vacation with the family, the Atlantis Bahamas is beautiful. I had an absolutely dream trip last year, and I'm super stoked to come back December 6th to the 19th. I'll see you guys there. After table changing, I ended up having to take off $2,400 from my stack. I can only come in for the maximum that one person has at the table. All right, remember in the intro where I said Justin set up 2 tables of 2-5 for us to hop in between? Well, it's time to move over to the next one. There's some new friendly faces here that I want to get on the vlog and also take their money as well. The straddle's on in this one. This table is just as fun as the last one, and a player to my right puts in the limp. I make it $55 to go with a great hand here, Ace 9 of clubs. Justin puts in the call, and the 2 players to my right call as well. We flop ourselves an open-ended straight draw with an overcard being the Ace of clubs. Action checks over to Justin, who fires out for $75, and the player to my right puts in the call. We lose one of the other players, so I put in the call, and we now have a 3-way off the turn, which comes the Queen of Diamonds, but the action quickly checks through. Interesting spot here when Justin decides to bet the flop, check the turn, so when the board pairs with the Queen of Clubs on the river, I don't immediately start with a check. I have Ace 9 of clubs here, which is kind of nice because it unblocks Justin and Josh's heart flush draws. We want them to be betting and calling with some heart draws and then folding on the river. I think this is a great spot to go for a bluff, especially because I block hands like 9-5 and 9-10 being the straights. Sure, Justin could be laying in the weeds with 8-7, pocket 7s, pocket 6s. He might have been counterfeit, so I go large here for $355. Justin checks his cards and folds. Josh does the same. I turn over the 9 of clubs, indicating I might have had a straight, but I just had a straight draw. Got one through here, surely. All right, I put the $10 straddle out from the button. There's a limp and a raise to 35. One player to my right puts in the call. Action's back over to me, and the poker gods reward me with none other than pocket dishwashers from the button. All right, pause. Ladies, do not roast me in the comments. I know that's a little bit harsh. It's a hilarious nickname. I had to throw it out there. Pocket dishwashers here from the button, and I make it $135 to go. We're only going to pick up one customer here, $317 in the middle, and we flop ourselves an overpair on a 10-8 deuce board. Action checks over to me from our friendly villain here, Josh, and I go for a $90 bet. He pretty much snap calls, which is an interesting decision. He didn't really have a decision. Apparently he just wanted to call, and the turn now comes the jack of clubs. He checks it over to myself, and I decide to check behind here. A 9 would obviously give me a straight, and I think I'm only getting 2 streets of value from a hand like ace 10 or jack queen or something like that. So I decide to check behind here, setting the trap, and the river now comes the 10 of diamonds, which isn't the best card in the deck, especially not when Josh leads out for $250, but I didn't check behind the turn to not call a bet on the river, even though the 10, which was the top pair on the flop, now paired. $250 is the price. I put it in there, and this $1,000 pot is coming over my way when Josh turns over 4 deuce of diamonds. So you see how checking behind on the turn made us the maximum here, and it gave him some rope to bet on the river, and we took it. $1,000 pot headed over my way. All right, this is the hand of the night. I was alluding to it in the intro. Straddles on, limp, 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 limp. Actions on me, and I look down at queen, jack of diamonds. I'm not gonna let all these limps go unpunished. I make it kind of small here for 55. Cinco de Mayo, baby, it's a fiesta. And of course, we're gonna get a few calls until DFTTM decides to shove it in for $345. That's gonna clear out a few players, but not until Sean decides to jam for $460 as well. Of course, I'm going nowhere with queen jack of diamonds. I'm up a little bit of money at this point. I want to splash around and have some fun for the vlog. So I call off the $460, and that's going to get Sparky to put in the call as well. So we got 2 players all in. We got DFTTM and Sean. Sparky and I heads up in a dry sod pot here, and I just have queen high. It's a nearly $2,000 pot, which is massive here at these stakes. We're having some fun, and the flop comes 10-8 deuce with 2 diamonds. With $1,800 in the middle, Sparky checks it over to myself. I don't see any point in betting here until I make my hand, so I want to see a 9, a diamond, a jack, or a queen on the turn, but that's not what we get. Luckily, the action goes check, check on the turn, and the river now comes a 6 of diamonds. Bang! We river the flush. Sparky checks it over to me for a 3rd time. Would have much rather seen him going for a stab, so I'm gonna have to do the betting myself. I fire out for $420, and he immediately mucks. I definitely have to have the best hand here, right? Well, both players end up folding their cards. DFTTM shows the ace of diamonds. Sean mucks his as well, so I definitely got lucky there on the river. Queen high was definitely not good. This $1,850 pot coming over my way. I was just trying to give action 4 ways. I think I probably had a 20 to a 25% chance to win this, but no complaints here. That's definitely paying for some of my gas money back to Chicago.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
All right, after having a bunch of fun in the 2-5 streets, I decided to table change over to the 1-2 game. There's a bunch of players at the table that are subscribers of the vlog, but don't really feel like playing for thousands of dollars. So I feel like it's only right here to donate some of my winnings back, and I decided to go all in right off the bat here. And I'm just trying to give some action, trying to have some fun. No one's really shoving, so off to a race situation here, and I end up winning with king, queen offsuit. I double up and then immediately put it back in the middle, all in versus Rick. This one's definitely more of a punt. I only have jack 4 here, aka the Robbie, the offsuit version, and he's gonna take it down. After the table change where I had to take $2,400 off the table, I ended up cashing out for $45.33. So if you add that $2,400 back in, I ended up profiting $19.33 in just a few hours of play. Had a blast here at Soaring Eagle. Shout out to Justin, a longtime subscriber, for getting this going. Hopefully I can do a massive meetup game here in the future. Soaring Eagle needs to get on it and allow me to do a meetup game here. It'd be so good for poker. If you guys are new, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Good luck on the felt, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace!